Okay, sir.
Hello and welcome back to online video classes by Konnur English Medium School. In this session today, we will deviate from the regular prose and poetry and look at a little bit of basic grammar. Alright, so when we talk about grammar, it's usually lots of rules and examples and practice. So that's how it goes. And today's discussion is no exception. But what we start with is something about a sentence. Yes, we will not directly jump into parts of speech and then noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, those things. But instead, we will go to them via the concept of sentence. Why? Because I want you to know that parts of speech are not some separate terms to learn and then take examples down for. No, they are all integrated into our speech, into our communication, and our communication depends on our sentences. So parts of speech are basically building blocks. They are like bricks in a wall, and the wall itself is the communication. So to learn about this communication, we first look at how sentences function and what sentences include in themselves. So that is how I would like to begin today. So we have sentence. You already know the definition of a sentence. What is the definition of sentence? Well, it can be worded in different ways, but basically a sentence is a group of words, right? It's a group of words, but it has to be meaningful. It has to give us a complete meaning. It has to make complete sense. So we call that group of words a sentence. Now, it goes without saying that when we say a group of words, there is no limit for the number of words in that group. A sentence can have just 2 words, or it can have many words as well. So a sentence can be short, it can be long as well. So, but it has to make sense. That is important. It has to give complete meaning. It has to express the idea completely. Then we will call it a sentence. So, to have a quick look at what this actually means, you have 2 columns here. Yes? On the left side, the examples are for a sentence which gives complete meaning. On the right side, on this column, there are also groups of words here. They look like sentences, but they are not actually sentences, simply because they do not give complete meaning. So let's read them one by one, and then let's make sure that only those are called sentences which give us complete meaning, which make complete sense. So the weather has changed. The weather has changed. Yes? Yes, for example, 3 days ago it was very warm, yes, very humid. Now it's a little bit comfortable because it's raining. The weather has changed. So it gives us complete meaning. On the other hand, the weather has, there are 3 words in it, yes, looks like a sentence, but the meaning is not complete. So it cannot be called a sentence. The same goes with the second row as well. He does his homework regularly. Makes complete sense. He does his homework regularly. He does his. If we stop there, well, we are missing something there. We are not expressing the complete idea. So that is not a sentence. So on this side, all of these are not sentences. None of them are sentences. But on this side, all of them are sentences. Cats don't like water. So that makes complete sense. If you look at cats don't like, then it's incomplete. Yes? Not just because you see water there and you don't hear, but even without this, if you simply said cats don't like, even if you didn't have this side here, if somebody told you cats don't like, then you'll be waiting for something after that. If somebody just said, cats don't like, and you will be wondering, what do they not like? Cats don't like what? So that part is missing. So that's the problem with these groups of words. Those groups of words, they themselves completely express the idea they are trying to express. But here that is not happening. Yes, these are not sentences. I asked because I was interested. I asked because. You stop there, then you do not give the complete meaning there with that sentence. Did you watch all the videos? Did you watch all the... Does not make complete sense. Please close the door. Please close. Close what? So that is how the definition, it's actually a simple definition. So when we say complete meaning, it has to make complete sense. And you don't need to be really fully aware of grammar to understand what complete sense is. Yes, your mind tells you something is missing there, something is not wholly expressed. So when you feel like that, then you are looking at an incomplete sentence or not a proper sentence. You're not looking at a good sentence. So we need to, in our communication, always express our ideas in a way that these ideas make sense. So for that, we need to know how to make sentences, how to structure the sentences. And as I said, sentences can be short, sentences can be long. So we need to be aware that whether it is a short sentence or a long sentence, the words in that sentence, or the group of words in that sentence, they have to be properly in place. They have to have proper coordination with them, and only then the sentence will have the desired complete sense. Otherwise it will not be. But how to make a proper sentence? How do we know that a sentence that we made is a proper one, that it is following all the rules? What do we need for that? Yes, that is the question. What do we need to know? What knowledge do we need to be able to make good sentences? Do we just need to know the grammar rules, or do we need something other than grammar? Well, yes, grammar is important, but more important than grammar is the words themselves. So to be able to make sentences, first you need to learn some words. You need to understand their meanings. You need to learn to pronounce them. You need to know their spellings. So you learn the words and then you learn how to use them. Then you will be able to make sentences. So as learners of English, second language, English is second language to us, even though it is first language in our curriculum. We learn it as a second language because our native language is something else. For some of us it is Kannada, for some of us it's Marathi, some of us speak Hindi. So we have different languages that we grew up speaking in. So that becomes our first language. So when we are learning English as a second language, as an additional language to what we already speak at home, then it is important that you learn the grammar part, learn the coordination, learn the rules, and know how to use them with a variety of words. So basically grammar is set of rules that tell us how to use words together to make good, meaningful sentences. So grammar is not just there to write answers to questions in the exam. Grammar is there to help you make sentences and give you the power to express your ideas in English. And grammar is totally useless unless you learn words. Okay, so when we are learning grammar, we are also equally focusing on the words themselves, their meanings, their spellings, how they build relationships with other words next to them, all that. So to make a proper sentence, you need different building blocks. Yes, you need different elements in a sentence to put together. And when you put all these elements together, then you have a proper sentence. So a sentence can have different elements like that. So when we study grammar, we call them parts of speech. Parts of speech, when we say noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, what are they actually? They are parts of speech, yes, but what are they? They are actually building blocks of a sentence. You use nouns, verbs, adverbs in a sentence to put them in a proper place, to develop a coordination between them so that they express a complete idea. So that is the concept of these parts of speech. So you all are aware, I believe you all are aware of their names. Nouns, pronouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, prepositions, conjunctions, interjections. So they all are building blocks of a sentence. So this is how we make sentence. We use these in a sentence, of course, by following the very necessary fundamental rules. Then we will be able to express the idea clearly. Let's go ahead and look at an example. Okay, in this example I'll show you how all the parts of speech are used in one single sentence. It's going to be a long sentence, but I have included it in this discussion so that you see that these different parts of speech actually they add up to the meaning of the sentence. Now, not all sentences need to have all the parts of speech. Okay, it is not really mandatory that a sentence must have all the parts of speech in them. The sentence doesn't have to have nouns, verbs, adverbs, all of them. No. Certain things are necessary for a sentence, certain things may be included and optional. Okay? But the next sentence that I'm going to show you is the one that includes all the parts of speech in it. That is just to give you an idea how they work as building blocks or elements in that sentence. And this is the sentence. The old tired man was sitting under a tree and patiently waiting for his son to arrive. Sounds like a long sentence. Indeed, it is a long sentence. There are quite a few words in this sentence. All these words, yes, we will look at them one by one. They represent a particular part of speech. The old tired man was sitting under a tree and patiently waiting for his son to arrive. Now, if we break this sentence down to words, yes, we place them one below the other, we will see what part of speech each of them become. Yes, let's go ahead and look at that. Now, this slide shows you the same sentence, but the words have been arranged one below the other. Yes, the old tired man was sitting under a tree and patiently waiting for his son to arrive. Yes, do you see? It's the same sentence. Now, how do these words work? The you already know is an article. Yes, old is an adjective, tired is an adjective, man is noun, was is a verb, sitting is also a verb, under is a preposition, a is an article, tree is a noun, and a conjunction, patiently adverb, waiting verb, for is a preposition, and his is a pronoun, son is a noun, to arrive is a verb. So we have broken the sentence down to the individual parts, and when we do that, we can see how each of those words work in that sentence, right? So they all have different roles to play, but together they are contributing to the meaning of that sentence. Yes, isn't that interesting? They all have different roles to play. For example, article the is there because man is there. The word man is there. Man. So article the directly refers to man. But there are two other words which refer to the same thing, man. Old and tired. Yes? Old and tired. Who are they describing, or who are they associated with? These two words, old and tired. They are associated with man. So we are describing a man here. Man is old and tired. And because somewhere in the conversation before, assume that we talked about this man already, So you and I both know, just assume that we know this man. Then he becomes a definite noun, so we use a definite article. So we know that man, he is known to us. Article the is used. The, old, tired. All these three words are there because they are associated with man. So if you remove man, the, old and tired, these words have no role to play in that sentence. Yes? So look at that sentence always. So in that way. So this concept will help you understand the elements in that sentence. Was and sitting, both are verbs. So the main action the man is performing here, there are two actions he is actually performing. Yes, he is sitting and he is waiting, right? These are two important verbs, sitting and waiting. Now sitting has was with it, yes, was sitting. But was doesn't have meaning of its own here in this sentence. It is only helping us to understand the tense of that sentence. Was sitting, yes, past progressive. So it's helping, it's called a helping verb for a reason. It is helping the main verb here. So was and sitting both are verbs, but was is helping the main verb sitting. Similarly, patiently, yes, patiently waiting, they are connected to each other. Waiting is the main verb as well because this sentence has two clauses. We will talk about clauses later. Waiting is the main verb and patiently is describing that verb. So when something describes a verb, then it is called an adverb. Right? So this is not a helping verb. This is not a verb at all. So was and sitting, that's a combination of helping verb and main verb. Here, waiting and patiently, they are closely related to each other. Patiently is describing waiting. How is this action of waiting taking place? What is the manner of that action? Patiently. How is he waiting? Patiently. So patiently is adverb here. Waiting is the verb. Right? So I was saying in this sentence there are two important verbs, main verbs, that is sitting and waiting. Was is connected to sitting and patiently is connected to waiting. But was and patiently, they play two different roles. Was is helping the main verb sitting, and in this clause, patiently as an adverb is associated with the main verb here. Now, so we have the old tired man was sitting, then under a tree. So we have a tree here, the man is sitting under the tree. So we are talking about his position in relationship with the tree. So to help us to get that sense, we have a preposition under. Under. Yes. The man and the tree. Yes. And the position is described using the preposition under. That's what prepositions usually do. They show that sort of connection between two nouns. Here man and tree, for example. So they describe position here of the man's position in relationship with that tree. Under a tree. What is a doing? A is there because we are talking about a tree. So article a is there because there is a noun here that we need to describe it with. So articles usually go with nouns. Like the was there because of man. So a tree. And we have and. And is a conjunction. Conjunctions are like joining words. They join different words, they join different parts of a sentence. They join phrases, they join clauses. For example, and begins a new clause in this sentence. Don't worry about the word clause that I'm repeatedly using if you don't know what a clause is. We will come to that much later into a grammar discussion, clauses, when we talk about phrases and clauses. So clause simply means another part in the same sentence, right? So there are two parts here. In one part we say the old tired man was sitting under a tree, and there is another part that he was waiting patiently for his son. So we are connecting these two parts with a connecting word, which is nothing but a conjunction in terms of grammar. So that's what it is, and. So it is a conjunction. And I already explained patiently and waiting what they are. Then we have for, just like under, it's a preposition. And his is a pronoun. Yes? We already know pronouns. Pronouns are very simple things in learning grammar, in course of grammar. So his is it's a variation of he and his. So it's a pronoun. Son is a noun, to arrive is a verb. Now you must be wondering why I have put to and arrive together. Why can't we separate to and arrive and say to is a preposition and arrive is a verb? Well, basically it's a combination of both. It's called an infinitive. And infinitives are not separated. Yes, to arrive is a kind of a verb. It's called an infinitive. Well, when we study grammar, there are a lot of terms to learn. There are a lot of things like infinitives and participles. So at first, they sound a little confusing or sometimes even scary. So many things we have never heard before, or things we have heard but then we never understood before. But don't worry about the terms. Terms, if you don't remember the terms, that's fine. But if you can understand their role, and that's enough. Eventually, you will also remember the term that is associated with that role. Yes. So while learning grammar, it's important to remember terms. Yes, because all these terminologies are there to connect us with all the relationships between the words, and it's critical to remember them. However, you don't have to suddenly come under pressure to remember everything. Make notes, pause the video, make notes, and then if you don't understand something, underline it, put a question mark in front of it, and the next time you have a chance to talk to me, you can address those doubts that you have, and then we can clarify them. Alright? So I hope that we successfully broke the sentence down to their individual parts, and then we saw how different parts of speech have come together here, and they are playing a collaborative role into making this sentence up. Yes? And what was the sentence? The old tired man was sitting under a tree and patiently waiting for his son to arrive. So we know the meaning of this sentence. So even if you don't know grammar, if you know the meaning of this sentence, if you can make sentences like this without knowing or remembering the terms, that's absolutely fine. But because English is second language to us, it's important that we remember the terms. We learn and practice all the rules related to grammar so that we do not make mistakes while writing or speaking. Okay, let's go to the next slide, which is another version of breaking that sentence down. In the previous slide here, you saw the words broken into rows and columns, like in a tabular format. But here I have put the whole sentence and I have marked the different parts of speech there. So I want you to pause the video and then take this down. Yes? Put it somewhere where you can see very often, or make a chart like this, hang it on the wall. So every time you see it, you know that the sentence is made up of different building blocks. How there can be more than one verb, how can different things can be connected, and how prepositions show relationship between the two different nouns, things like that, how adverbs describe some action or the manner of the action, etc. So you can do this with every sentence that you find. If you know how to identify different parts of speech, you can actually create charts like this. And the more charts you create, the more aware you become of their roles, their terms, etc. Then grammar becomes fun to learn, it becomes very interesting.
Okay, sir.
Now before I let you practice some of the sentences on your own, I will take you through some of the examples that I have brought. We will look at these sentences so that the concept becomes more clear to you. Look at this sentence. Everyone likes mangoes. Yeah, everyone likes mangoes, that's true. But look at the different parts of this speech in that sentence. So we have everyone likes and mangoes, right? So what is everyone? Everyone is a pronoun. Yes, it's called an indefinite pronoun. Pronouns are not just I, we, you, he, she, and they. There are other pronouns as well. So this one is called an indefinite pronoun because it doesn't mention anyone in particular. We'll talk about indefinite pronouns as well. So for now, everyone is a pronoun. Likes is a verb. So we have s suffix added to the verb like there, because everyone is considered third person singular. So you know that basic rule, when it is third person singular and we are using a simple present tense, then we add suffix s to the verb and make it likes or goes or sits, like that. And mangoes is in plural form, it is a noun. Yes? So a pronoun, a verb and noun together, they make up this sentence. Let's look at one more sentence. Bill Gates is a rich man. Of course, yeah? Bill Gates is a rich man. But let's break it down and see what different words are playing different roles here. Bill Gates is a noun. So we also know it's called a proper noun. It's a name. It's a given name to a person. So that's why we have also capitalized the first letter of those two words. The letter B is in capital, letter G is in capital in Gates as well. So Bill Gates, it's a given name, a proper noun. Is a verb, a is an article, rich is an adjective, man is a noun. Right? So can you see the relationship between the words here? Yes. A rich man, a and rich are associated with the noun man. Yes. If you remove man from this sentence, then a and rich have nothing to describe. They have nothing to associate themselves with. So that is how each of these fit into different building blocks of a sentence. Let's look at one more sentence. Mary sings beautifully. Mary sings beautifully. 3 words. Mary is a noun. What kind of a noun? A proper noun. It's a given name as well. Sings, again we have suffix s added to the verb sing. So sings is a verb, and beautifully adverb. Why is beautifully an adverb? So remember that sentence? The old man sitting and waiting under the tree. He was waiting, right? He was waiting for his son to arrive. How was he waiting? What was the manner of his waiting? He was waiting patiently. So patiently was describing the verb waiting. Here, beautifully describes the verb sing. Yes, how does she sing? What is the manner? Beautifully. So we call it an adverb. Adverbs usually end in ly or lny. I say usually. Okay, there are some adverbs which do not end in ly, but most of them do. So beautifully is an adverb. Again, 3 words in this sentence: a noun, a verb, and an adverb. Kolkata is a very big city. Kolkata is a very big city. Kolkata is a noun, a proper noun, a given name for a place. Yes. Is a verb. A is an article. Very is an adverb. Why is very an adverb here? What is very doing? Let's see how they are linked to the other words. Article A is there because we're talking about city. A city. So A is there related to city. These two are as well. We want to say something more about the city. We say it's a big city. Yes, not just a big city, but a very big city. Right. Now, big is talking about city here. City is a noun, and if a word describes a noun like this, it is called an adjective. Right. So we have these describing words. They describe other things. So anything that describes a noun is called an adjective. And we want to talk about the degree of how big it is. Yes. So we want to say something about that as well. So very big. So very is referring to big. Big is referring to city. So very is not describing the city here. Very is not directly associated with city. Of course, it is connected to it. If you remove city, very doesn't have much to do there. Yes. But very is talking about the word big here. How big? Very big. So this is describing an adjective. Yes, it's an adjective, right? So it is an adverb. That's another definition. That's another part of the definition of an adverb. An adverb can describe a verb. It can also describe an adjective. right? It can also describe an adjective. So we had in the previous sentence we had Mary sings beautifully. Beautifully was describing the singing, and here very is describing the adjective big. So beautifully was adverb because it was describing a verb, and very is an adverb because it was describing an adjective. So that is how we break this thing down, this sentence. Let's look at another one. He spoke in the most unusual way. He spoke in the most unusual way. So he is pronoun, quite understandable, easy to remember. Pronouns are simplest things, like I said, but there are different forms of pronouns. Like he can become his, it can also become him, it can become himself. So those things, you need to know how they work as well. So he is a pronoun, spoke is the verb, yes, it's the past form of the verb speak. Speak, spoke, and we have in the past participle spoken. Spoke is a verb, in is a preposition, yes. So prepositions are small words usually, and they connect different parts of the sentence in their own way, like this. So in the most unusual way. The is article, the is there because we're talking about way, the noun, and for this noun we have the, most, and unusual, all connected to this word, which is way. How? The way, yes, describing the noun way here, and most unusual. Unusual is an adjective, it's talking about way. What kind of way? Unusual way. And as we discussed in the previous slide, if something describes a noun, it's an adjective, yes. So unusual is an adjective, and most tells us about how unusual it is, the degree of its unusualness, the degree of its unusualness. So most unusual, and most describes unusual, so it is an adverb, yes. A word that describes an adjective is also an adverb. And the most unusual way. That's how this building block of the sentence is. It's fit together. That's how it comprises these words. So if you have something that you didn't understand in this discussion, always make note, yes, and refer it to me. And you can call me. Some of you are already doing so. You are asking me questions on WhatsApp, some of you are calling and clarifying them, so it's always good to do so. So do not hesitate. If you hesitate and do not get things clarified, then those things will prevent you from understanding the further discussion, which will be based on this discussion. Here is another sentence. My brother and his friends are playing. Let's break it down and then see. My is pronoun, it comes from the basic form of the pronoun I, yes, that's the basic form of it. I has become my. My brother. Brother is noun, and is conjunction. We already talked about how conjunctions work, they connect. My brother, his friends, both are connected with and. My brother and his friends. Again we have a pronoun here, comes from he, and then friends, which is in plural form, is a noun. So pronoun, noun, conjunction, the connecting word, pronoun again, noun, are is a verb, and playing is also a verb. So playing is the main verb in this sentence because it tells us what my brother and his friends are doing, right? What they are doing is they are playing. That is the main action in this sentence. And are is helping that verb to give the sense of time, the tense form, which is a present progressive here as well, are playing. So that's how, whenever you see two or more verbs, try to think of them as as one main verb and the helping verbs, and ask yourselves which one is helping and which one is the main one. So if you focus on the main action in that sentence, you are focusing on the main verb, and the other verbs are helping it in some way to form a question sometimes, to express time as in tense, or to produce a passive form of the sentence. Different things these helping verbs do. Right. This will be the last example I will cover today, and after this you're on your own. You can work on different sentences wherever you find, and then follow the same methodology. And if you don't, if you're not able to identify part of speech of a particular sentence, then I'm there to help you. So what is this sentence? Cheetah is the fastest of all land animals. Okay, cheetah is a name of an animal, so it's a noun. Is a verb. The is article. Yes, the is there because of the noun. Which noun is it connected to? Land animals. Yes, the fastest of all land animals. So usually articles go with nouns, but there might be some words placed between them. So fastest is an adjective. Fast, faster, fastest. Yes, fast can also be an adverb in some cases. So yes, that flexibility is there in grammar. Grammar, although it contains a set of some thumbs down rules, still there are exceptions made there. Yes. So fastest is the adjective, of is preposition, all is a pronoun. Yeah, all is pronoun again. Yes, it's called an indefinite pronoun. And land animals is noun, right? You can separate land and animals, but because land animals, even though they are two different words, they're acting together there, and it makes sense to say that it's just one term, and it is a noun. So this is how you break this sentence down, right? If you can do this, which is not really a challenge, if you can do this, then you are already on the right path to learn grammar. But if you are struggling with this, then you have to work harder, and then sit down and practice more. Ask your teacher, and then get things clarified. If you already are understanding it well, if you can do it on your own without much help, then you are already on the path to pick up more stuff in grammar, learn more concepts, more interesting concepts, also useful concepts. So that's it for today's discussion, right? We talked about sentence and different building blocks of a sentence. We call them parts of speech, and then we understood how they are related to each other, and how they come together to add to the meaning of the sentence, how they complete the meaning of the sentence. Yes, so maybe in the next session we will look at them individually, right? We talk about nouns, pronouns, verbs, etc. individually with definitions, examples, but the idea is the same. Even if we went into the details of them, we are basically talking about these building blocks of a sentence. So never think that when we are learning nouns, we are just learning nouns. No, we are learning a part of a sentence. Yes. So eventually we have to also learn how to fit into that sentence. If you learn nouns separately and you think, okay, now you are going to learn pronouns and then verbs, those are not separate things. They are all the building blocks of a sentence, and that's how you should see them, and that's how you should practice them as well. Okay, I will leave you to this, and I hope that you will practice it enough. And then if you have prepared charts, the charts like this one, yes, you can share it on WhatsApp on my number. I will see if you have done it correctly, and I will also suggest some corrections if there are mistakes. But I want you to do that. I want you to take it seriously, and then put enough practice down there. Only then you will be able to understand further concepts in grammar. Okay, so thank you for watching today's discussion. I will see you next time.